I mean, Barstool is just snapped. They've lost their way. I mean, we'll get there, and and people aren't going to like that, and I'm sure I'm going to piss people off. I'm sure I piss people off by tweeting out clips, but what Dave said to me was, it's all fair game, right?
He also said he agreed with your criticisms of some of the, I guess, activism that Barstool personalities are engaging in.
And again, I'm calling this out because I disagree with it. This is what I do. It's part of my job. And if they want to fight back, that's great too. So we'll just get to it. So yeah, I'm watching Turn last night. Yeah. Bored off my skull. And now I have to go way back here. I got a text from Stephen Earl Robinson. Ellie's was pretty quiet until this woman spoke up. So my guess is Ellie gave her the sign to get going. She didn't want to do it herself.
By Ellie's responses, I didn't know if she was just being sarcastic.
Well, she quickly we said, oh great, let's have her. Michaela, is that her name?
Yes.
That was Michaela. Okay. Or Ellie on. Ellie immediately said no when Steve asked her.
Right.
So I think we have our answer to that.
Yeah.
So fine. No big deal.
I don't know. It seems so strange. The answers seemed like she was kind of in on the joke, which make me think, but clearly she's not.
She's not. And that's okay. That's really okay. Like, and I said,
she's probably afraid, honestly.
Well, then don't. You know what? If you're afraid,
no, I agree with you.
Here's the thing.
Say that
I'm going to make this all very clear before we go after this podcast, which is spectacularly vapid. This particular episode, stupid, dangerous, insulting, and honestly just like horrifying, in my opinion. I still believe that her heart is in the right place. You guys might.
No,
disagree.
I do. No, I totally agree. She's struggling to figure out how to handle the moment.
And that sounds like patting on the head. I do understand that. And I understand I have privilege and whatever. So you have to know what you're talking about if you're going to do something like this and talk about this topic. And we screw stuff up all the time, and then we try and correct it. And maybe she will when one of these charities eventually gets, exposed, which is going to happen. I suspect she will not issue an apology to us, but that's really okay. I don't really care. So so I was like, I'll go listen to her podcast and see what she has to say about this particular issue. So, I mean, we'll just play it and react to it. I mean, I don't even know. I have so many thoughts that I'm going to be talking a lot today, but I hear this and I think, where are we starting, Steve? 3 minutes in or so?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, she doesn't know when George Floyd was killed.
Right.
At the beginning, she's like, was it last week? Or I forget. Days are so weird now.
Who can remember?
If it's the most important thing of all time, I'd get the date straight if I were you. If this is really what but that's okay. Not a big deal. She has is that her producer?
Yes.
Okay.
I was going to start with her book recommendations.
Well, no, Steve, go 3 minutes in. Do you have that? I texted you that specific part. No?
So the second thing on this list of things that you can concretely do, you can sign petitions and you can donate. Signing petitions, I like, there's literally no excuse to not sign a petition.
How far in is this,
Steve?
Just sign a bunch.
2 seconds. Like,
I don't know exactly how far.
Stop. What did I tell you to do? I said 3 minutes. What are you playing randoms? I said,
I just don't have them. I don't have them
3
set
to
up.
5:30 is incredible, I said.
I know. I pulled it, but I don't have them set up.
Do you have the podcast set up? What are we doing
I'm doing
here?
it right now.
Did you know I was going to talk about this podcast today or no?
Yes, I did.
Okay, well, go to 3 minutes and I'll tell you what to play then. Jesus.
Video of it, it's very disturbing. If you haven't seen it and you've seen the picture of this police officer kneeling on his neck, stick to the picture because that's disturbing enough. Like, I'm telling you, this video is really,
There's
really
3 minutes in the
upsetting.
podcast.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So after that happened, there was a lot of outrage, and starting the latter part of last week, there were protests beginning in Minnesota and some riots. There was looting.
Hold on real quick, Steve. Pause it real quick. So Ellie, got angry at us because we said, we don't know where these, and we've looked, and we're not sure. Some of these charities, I'm sure, mean well, but a lot of them seem very odd. There's no answers. We're not sure where it's going. And I'm sure Ellie Schnitt, when she sends out 30 charities and tweets, I'm guessing she's not corresponded and talked to people at each of these charities to make sure they're 100% legitimate, or to make sure that each of these dollars are not going, or any of these dollars are not going to looters or rioters, right? I mean,
if you look at that donation page, so the one that everyone's tweeting out was created by a 17-year-old kid named Nico, and it's just like a nest of hundreds of links to all these different organizations.
Which again,
it says on the page, don't donate to Sean King. So they're aware that within that movement there are some troubling things, but some of them just seem like they're very new organizations.
So if I had Ellie on, all I'll say to Ellie is, can you confirm to me that you've spoken to somebody at each one of these organizations? Who have you spoken to? Where is the money going? Are we making sure it's not going to somebody who stabs a police officer or kills a 77-year-old man, or blows up a building, or kills an animal, or punches somebody in the face, or hits somebody in the head with a 2x4? That's all I want to ask her. Now, she won't come on and answer these questions because she knows, and I know the answer. She's done none of that legwork. She's doing her thing, which is virtue signaling. She's waving, so everyone says how thoughtful she is, instead of, really using her brain and trying to do the right thing. So her issue, I think it was her anger was at me, is saying that this money is going to rioting or looters, I thought. But then it doesn't seem like she has a problem with it. Go ahead, Steve.
And I think basically the important thing to understand with this is, like, this was not an isolated incident. This is not something that just it happened one time and everyone's super mad. Like, this is something that has continued to happen, that has happened a lot. And people are understandably very angry about it. And I think if you're looking at this and you're kind of confused as to why the riots are happening instead of like a peaceful protest, quote unquote, first of all, people haven't listened, to peaceful.
Well thought.
Sometimes to get your point across, you have to be extreme. And secondly, when you look at the civil rights movement, I was watching CNN and Bernice King.
So I just don't, it's Martin Luther King's daughter. She tells about some pyramid that's put together. So she's saying that, you just can't be peaceful sometimes. You got to be extreme, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, what does that mean? What is extreme?
Well, I've heard some clips that suggest it means be really extreme.
We'll get there. We'll get there. So, I mean,
Honestly, it sounds like something ISIS would say.
It does. So, I mean, Ellie, who's upset at us for suggesting that we think some of those funds may go to that, she's fine with that. So just say, no, some of it's going there as well. I'm fine with that. Not say, well, okay, now you're suggesting you should donate to those things. At least you're being honest about it. I mean, it seems like, and we'll get to it later, there's no doubt, she is fine with this stuff happening. I mean, so, we've gone through these all, and it happens every single day. And again, if you need me to say this 50 times, the thing that happened to Floyd was horrific. It's an awful tragedy. I hate that it happened. I hate that cop. It's fucking disgusting. So is a 77-year-old guy dying. So is the police officer who got stabbed. So is the officer in Las Vegas who's on life support. So is the guy in Rochester, the woman who got bashed in the head with a 2x4. So is the rioting. The businesses are getting destroyed every night. The fires that are going on. The officers, the good police officers, and I know it's scary to say this. I know it's not a Barstool thing to say anymore. Most police officers are really, 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 really good people. Mike said the other day, or you said the other day, Steve, I don't know. I think cops are okay with Barstool. Do you think the cops listen to the show?
No, I think they'll have a problem with this one.
Okay, so, R.A. Minihane, once again, ironically, right again, Minihane. So, I mean, like, you hear that and you think, well, why, you're asking people to donate to this?
This is, again, I keep saying it.
I know, you're right, but
it's people that aren't supposed to be talking about this. Feel like they have to.
But, it's not an excuse. But it's not an excuse.
No, it's not at all. But now what happens is Ellie or whatever, Michaela, any of these people, when they're called out, they feel like, well, I already made this point.
They get defensive.
So now I just have to call this guy a racist.
Do you have Ellie Schnitt's phone number?
Yes.
Let's call her right now. Call her right now. She can come. She doesn't have to come off if she doesn't want to. Steve, you have to reach who you're working with. I don't care what anyone thinks.
I understand.
I don't care. I have friends. I don't need friends in my life. I don't care if Ellie Schnitt or, people at Barstool don't like me. It doesn't matter to me.
Sometimes you got to discipline your daughter, Is that bit done? Or are we?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's unfair to call somebody you work with at 10 o'clock in the morning and ask them to come on your podcast.
No, not really.
She says, say no again. Say no again. But I want to give her opportunity to talk about it.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice
It's
message.
been blocked.
Good enough. So I'll say this too before we go any further, because it's going to get worse for her, in my opinion. Maybe she's going to, lay something out and make a good point. Her and I together mutually, if she wants, can pick a charity that is for this, that's good, that we know is solid, and we'll do the investigation, and she'll do it, and we'll come to some agreement that's going to help with this. I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to donate and match her donation or whatever she wants. And we can get her fans and our fans to donate as well. And her and I will do a live YouTube show, whatever she wants, and have a discussion about this. Fine by me. So that to me is called, help. That's way more, that's raising money and putting it somewhere. It's a lot more helpful than putting a black box up on your Instagram or suggesting what somebody should read, in my opinion. Now, we'll put that clip out and she won't do it. So, I mean, and that's amazing. If she does, great, I'm wrong. So,
but she won't do it because deep down she knows she didn't look into these charities, and that's fine.
Of course not.
That's fine. But just
actually, it's actually not. It's actually not because because money is going to people who are doing these things now because of her. She has influence. So it's actually not fine. It's actually
dangerous. The reason I say it's fine is because it's more dangerous to keep calling her out, because then you feel like you can't admit it. You can't, for some reason now in our society, you can't just be like, you know what, I fucked up. I didn't look into these charities. Because if she came out and said, hey guys, I made a mistake, then it's another fucking week of bashing by a much larger than her own audience is shitting on her.
But not even really by us if she did that. Not really by us. I'd say, okay, she made a mistake. We make mistakes. I mean, we've done things that we've gone on and come back and done shows correcting ourselves. Like, people fuck up.
Right. And I'm willing to say that.
I would take a victory lap.
Probably
let's be honest. Who are we fucking kidding?